The Demon King, a cruel entity that has existed since ancient times, has always brought suffering to humanity. However, every time he appeared, he was defeated by a legendary warrior known as the Great Hero. Thanks to this, humanity still resists. The hero advances without hesitation. With a devastating cross-strike, he delivers the meteor break directly against the Demon King. The explosion of force is brutal, impossible to withstand. The Demon King, incredulous and weakened, tries to understand how he was defeated. Before him stands the new great hero of this era, a young man who bears the weight of the legend alone. Reluctantly, the Demon King admits the inevitable. Heroes have always emerged to defeat his lineage. He knew this day would come. Before him stands the name of this era, Leon Liberto, another in the long line of those who have marked history by defeating the Demon King. The Demon King is surprised to see Leon Liberto alone. He expected to find a hero surrounded by loyal allies, companions gained along the journey, overcoming conflicts and forming bonds. But here he stands with no one at his side. The Demon King grows irritated. For him, the hero's journey should be done as a group, winning together, recalling the battles, and crying out in joy at the end. An epic story to be told for generations. But before him stands Leon, solitary, without saying a word. Leon questions the Demon King's interest in the stories of great heroes. He reacts nervously, tries to deny it, but knows every detail. He studied the ancient heroes just to defeat them. But in the end, he doesn't understand why Leon came alone. Leon responds calmly. He came alone because he doesn't need anyone else. He knows how to use a sword and magic, heals himself, and detects traps. To him, being self-sufficient has always been enough. The Demon King, shaken, cannot understand this solitude. Leon has heard enough. Unconcerned with speeches or dramas, he raises his sword. To him, it all boils down to this: ending the threat. Without hesitation, he declares the end of the Demon King. The blade cuts through the darkness. It's the final blow. Elsewhere, far from the battlefield, an ordinary morning begins with someone shouting from the window, telling them to get out of bed. A boy wakes up startled. Once again, he had that strange dream. So vivid, it felt real. The angry voice from outside calls him trash and demands that he get up. He frequently dreams the same thing, facing the Demon King as a great hero. He knows that this legendary hero truly existed, but in real life, everything feels too distant. Even though it's just a dream, he wishes it were a little more real. The boy's name is Leon. He was named after his mother, who died shortly after his birth. It was a tribute to the greatest hero in history, Leon Liberto, a real warrior who lived 100 years ago. The name came with hope, but the current world seems to ignore it. Leon is scolded early in the morning. His older brother, Snail, treats him with disdain, even though he's within the agreed time. Without reacting, Leon simply apologizes and proceeds in silence, used to being treated this way. In fact, Leon is just the illegitimate son of a local nobleman. He lives as a servant in his own house, treated as trash by his half-brother, the legitimate heir of the family. His life is far from that of a great hero. Leon was dragged into a monster hunt, only to carry his brother's bags. He feels weak, useless. If he had the strength of the hero in his dreams, maybe he wouldn't be so worried now. But reality is far different from fantasy. Snail arrives arrogantly and blames Leon for being late. The friends, excited, talk about killing monsters and watching Snail in action. The destination, the West Forest. Some of their reactions show that this place isn't normal, and it might be dangerous. Even with the adults' warnings and the friends' fear, Snail ignores everything. He says he doesn't care if there are 100 goblins in the forest. He feels invincible. He proudly displays his sword, too confident to notice the real risk. Everyone is impressed with Snail's sword, a legendary weapon that, according to him, once belonged to the great hero of the past. Leon watches in silence, surprised. The question arises, how did he get the hero's sword? But Snail only smiles, full of pride. Snail tells that his ancestor fought alongside the legendary hero to defeat monsters in the region. As a reward, the hero supposedly gave him the sword. With this, Snail believes he can easily face goblins or even an orc. The friends are impressed, but Leon remains insecure. Snail takes action and easily eliminates a goblin. With a quick, accurate strike, he demonstrates confidence and strikes a victory pose in front of the others, bragging as if he were a true hero. The boys are impressed with the sword's cut. Not even the city guards can cleave a goblin like that. Snail shows off even more. Leon watches, silently, tense. So far, only one goblin has appeared. But if they come in a group, will they manage? Snail's friends have hunted monsters before and don't seem to have trouble with goblins. Snail is strong, and the sword does what it promises. Meanwhile, Leon feels out of place. Small, weak, and inexperienced. He's never held a sword, and no one includes him in the fights. Which, deep down, relieves him. He's terrified of all this. Suddenly, the forest erupts into chaos. A whole group of goblins charges toward them. There are more than 10, a whole pack. Leon freezes in fear, his heart racing. The game is over. Snail tries to maintain his stance and shouts not to panic. He says he'll defeat all the goblins alone. But the group is already surrounded. Even with the goblins' numerical advantage, Snail's group fights well, at least for now. But then Leon notices something strange in the bushes. His eyes widen as he sees a much larger creature. A black goblin, imposing, silently appears, and it hasn't been noticed by the others yet. Leon faces a giant goblin. Every step the creature takes shakes the ground. Its eyes gleam with fury, and Leon can barely breathe. This is no ordinary enemy. It's a threat far beyond what they can handle. It's not just a giant goblin. It's an ogre. A mid-level monster, much stronger than any common goblin. Leon freezes upon realizing what's before them. None of them are prepared for this. The group panics upon seeing the ogre approaching. Everyone knows it's impossible to defeat it. Except Snail. Still trapped in his arrogance, he says the sword will handle it. But the fear in the other's eyes says otherwise. No one believes this bravado. Snail attacks with confidence, thinking the sword will fix everything. But the ogre easily intercepts the blow, grabbing the blade with its own hands. The smile fades from Snail's face. Now he understands the true danger. Panic spreads. The boys drop everything and flee, desperate to survive. Leon tries to run too, but before he can take his first step, Snail, overwhelmed by fear, throws Leon to the ground and pushes him toward the ogre. Without hesitation, he offers him as bait. He says Leon was brought just for this, to die in his place. Leon can barely believe what he's hearing. Betrayed, humiliated, thrown to die. Before the ogre, Leon goes into shock. The creature approaches, about to kill him. He feels like he's going to die there. But then, a voice echoes in his mind. A familiar presence. Cold, confident, as if mocking the idea. An ogre? Kill you? Leon tries to deny it. He says he's never even defeated a goblin. That it was just a dream. He's just a weak bastard, talentless, with no sword. But the voice ignores all that, and insists, "You defeated the Demon King? Forgot?" Something changes within Leon. The fear disappears as if it had never existed. His hands stop trembling. He opens the box before him and calmly touches the sword, as if he already knew exactly what to do. With steady eyes and determined steps, Leon moves forward. The sword is now in his hands, but it's his gaze that impresses the most. Calm, determined, as if he'd faced death before. The ogre prepares, but it's too late. With a single cut, Leon severs the ogre's arm. Blood pours out, and the monster barely understands what happened. The blade has passed, clean and precise. Leon doesn't hesitate, doesn't tremble. Now he dominates the scene. The ogre screams in agony. Leon watches the sword in his hands, not believing it. He asks himself, "I cut this?" The mysterious voice responds with disdain. This was child's play. There was no one else. It could only have been him. The ogre tries to attack again, but Leon doesn't retreat. With a clean, precise movement, he cuts the creature's chest from top to bottom. The monster barely has time to react. Leon watches the ogre's broken body on the ground, still not understanding. He knows how tough these creatures are. But even so, he cut through the flesh, the bones, the spine. The voice returns, cold and confident. "If it were me, I'd do it with a twig." Leon stares at his own hand. The light in his eyes shifts. The memories come rushing back all at once. Swords, battles, the Demon King, the end of the world. He isn't dreaming. He was the hero. And now he remembers everything. In the past, he was the greatest hero in history, strong enough to carry the world alone. And now, he's back. He understands now. The legendary hero from 100 years ago was reborn. The soul of Leon Liberto awakens in the rejected boy, with the sword in hand and a new destiny ahead. He stares at the sword coldly. Weak, common, worthless. In his past life, he would have sold it without a second thought. But the ground he stands on now, something stirs in his memory. Even with another body and another time, this land feels familiar. He recalls the mission. 100 years ago, he came to this village just to eliminate monsters. The mayor's son, with greedy eyes, guided him, and ended up receiving a random sword as payment. Now, seeing that it became a legendary reward makes him face it with irony. The story was distorted far too much. Leon appears before the others, unharmed. Surprise overtakes the group, especially Snail, who desperately asks about the ogre. Without emotion, Leon simply responds that he killed it. The revelation shocks them, and no one seems to believe what they've just heard. Snail laughs in disdain at Leon's claim, mocking the idea that he could have defeated an ogre. He says the monster only ignored him because he was too weak to be a threat. But the expression changes when Leon, without hesitation, throws the sword back. The cold, confident attitude leaves Snail surprised and speechless. Leon, with cold calm, tells Snail to shut up. He says he's talking too loudly. The bully, irritated, prepares to react with a punch, but is interrupted when Leon throws something in his direction. Snail catches it reflexively and freezes when he realizes what he's holding: the ogre's head. The shock takes over. The ogre's head rolls across the ground and stops right in front of the other boys, who recoil in fear. Snail, still processing what he's seeing, tries to confront Leon angrily, but when he turns to him, Leon has already disappeared. Confused and nervous, Snail looks around, not understanding how he vanished so quickly. Leon returns home and is greeted by a gelatinous creature, whom he calls Sura. He reveals that he found the slime about 2 years ago, injured, after wandering accidentally into the backyard. After treating it with medicinal herbs, the little monster started following him. Since then, Leon has kept it hidden as a pet in his room. Even though it's considered the weakest monster of all, the slime has become his only companion who can cheer him up after tough days. Leon believes he's the reincarnation of the legendary hero, and now that his memories have returned, he begins to reflect on various gaps in his past history. He realized that although there are books that recount his heroic deeds, especially his victory over the Demon King, they all end with him living happily ever after. However, nothing is said about what happened after that victory. There are no records of his death or any later deeds, and Leon feels there's much to investigate. His goal now is to understand what really happened after that final confrontation. Leon notices the strangest detail of all. Even though he has regained the memories of his past life as the great hero, he can't remember what happened after defeating the Demon King. The only vivid memory he has is the repeated scene in his dreams, the moment of the final confrontation. With a snap, he realizes that something happened at the exact moment he defeated the enemy. It was there, in that decisive moment, that a terrible curse was cast upon the hero. This revelation raises even more questions about his death and the reason behind his reincarnation. The curse cast by the Demon King was carefully crafted to activate at the exact moment of his death. This specific condition is what made the magic so powerful. Even the great hero trying to dispel it immediately was caught off guard. His magic was sealed the moment the curse was cast. That wasn't a common curse, but a final, desperate spell designed to drag the hero down with the villain, sealing his strength and ending his story, at least for a time. The hero, poisoned by the Demon King's curse, tried to react quickly by drinking an antidote potion. However, he was caught by another hidden effect: paralysis. His body stopped responding, leaving him completely immobile. Unable to defend himself or finish drinking the antidote, he lost consciousness. The official narrative ends there. Presumably, he died. But now, reborn as Leon, he awakens from that memory with a bitter feeling. The greatest legend of humanity fell silently, without glory, and without answers. In the end, the hero and the Demon King both fell together. Even though the hero was superior in strength, he made a fatal mistake. He was careless. Leon begins to reflect. A confrontation of that level would normally require a whole group. Why did he go alone? And who is the voice questioning him now? Leon understands the reason for the hero's fall. The curse that hit him was too powerful, probably made to target only one person. If he had brought allies, he might have been saved. Alone, the hero had no chance. The curse's restriction increased his power, sealing his magic and making any reaction impossible. But now Leon awakens to the new reality. There's no point in lamenting. He accepts the past and prepares to move forward. He starts analyzing his own abilities, comparing his current strength to what he had in his past life. The doubt about how he managed to defeat an ogre in this new body indicated that not all powers were lost. To confirm this, he activated one of his old abilities, Evaluation. Using the technique still worked, reinforcing the idea that part of his old power had been preserved. Upon checking his status, he discovered that his species level was much lower than it was in his previous life. Despite this, he still maintained the advanced ranks from his past incarnation: Master Swordsman, Supreme Mage, Saint, and Royal Thief, all at maximum level. This confirmed that even with his young and weak body, his potential remained intact. Professions in this world defined each person's path. The higher the level in a profession, the greater the gains in strength and skill. Reaching level 20, max level, made it possible to even receive a blessing from a deity. For a few, those who completely mastered their craft, an even more powerful blessing was granted, elevating their abilities to a nearly legendary level. In his past life, he reached the highest rank in 4 different archetypes, advancing in class when reaching level 20 in each. The system only allowed one active profession at a time, but upon reaching the limit, it was possible to switch to another in the same line or even a completely different one. After reincarnation, his species level was reset to 1, but the status of all his professions remained intact. This was the reason he could face the Demon King alone. Even with the species level still low, his attributes were already at rank S, thanks to the bonuses inherited from his professions: strength, endurance, dexterity, agility, magic, and luck, all elevated above what would be expected from a level 3. Compared to his past life, where everything was rank SSS, this seemed small, but it was still an extraordinary feat. Moreover, he still had 300 profession points available for use. He understood how profession points worked. As his species level rose, he gained more points that could be used to acquire new positions. In his previous life, he reached level 100 and accumulated enough points to master all the major classes. Now, even with only 300 points, he began to consider the possibility of going even further than before. He calmly analyzed the structure of the professions. Each position had 3 levels: initial, intermediate, and advanced. And the higher the level, the more points were required. In his past life, he had conquered 4 complete archetypes, each reaching its peak. Reviewing this information confirmed the solid base he still carried within himself. He mentally revisited the 4 archetypes he had mastered in his previous life. The Thief, evolving to the King of Thieves. The Swordsman, reaching the title of Swordmaster. The Healer, culminating in the status of Saint. And the Mage, ending with the position of Grand Mage. Each class represented a complete journey, and now, even with his body reset, all this power remained within him. Even with only level 3 in his new life, he already had 300 profession points, an absurd amount for anyone at this stage. In the past, every time he leveled up, he received far more than the usual amount. This trait, it seemed, remained with him after reincarnation, a clear confirmation that, even limited in species, he still carried a unique inheritance of power. In addition to the common classes, there were extra jobs, rare roles that didn't follow any of the traditional lineages. By mastering both Swordsman and Mage, it was possible to reach the Sword Wizard class. Combining Knight and Priest unlocked the path to becoming a Paladin. Finally, combining mastery in both magic and healing opened the possibility to become a Sage. These roles required multiple paths and offered unique powers, the result of the fusion between distinct archetypes. He reflected on the possibility of reaching the classes he had left behind in his previous life. To do so, he would need to gather the 10,000 points used to reach the 4 main archetypes. In his past life, no points remained to invest in the extra jobs, even though he would have liked to become a sword wizard or sage. Now, with the chance to start over, the question arose, which path should he follow? Once the role was chosen, there would be no going back. It was a decision that required caution. Leon decided to visit the local church, the only place where new roles could be acquired. There, he intended to carefully examine the available class tree before making any decisions. He knew the system required a special ability called Prayer, taught only to those within the priest archetype. With this in mind, he bid farewell to the Slime Sura and left once more, focused on defining his new path. Upon arriving at the church entrance, Leon is confronted by one of the boys who always tries to impose authority. The boy demands an explanation, angry that Leon left without informing anyone. Despite the scolding, Leon remains calm and responds with indifference, just as he did in his past life, making the other even angrier. As he tries to remember how he used to deal with him, Leon notices his way of speaking has changed almost automatically. The boy advances with a direct attack, fueled by anger. His movements are rough and loud, but to Leon they seem too slow. He watches everything coldly, without rushing or worrying, as if dealing with something trivial. To him, there's no need to even dodge. The attack lands squarely, but the impact doesn't reach Leon. A skill activates at the exact moment. The energy is reflected, amplified, and sent back. The attacker, caught off guard, is thrown violently away, falling unconscious. Leon remains still, not even lifting a hand. Leon watches the fallen enemy on the ground, unconscious. The initial surprise fades into a memory. He had completely forgotten about his counterattack ability. It was so natural in his past life that he barely paid attention. The blow he received automatically triggered double reflex, returning the damage double. Against a weak enemy, it was more than enough. Leon approaches the unconscious body on the ground. The opponent is alive but knocked out. The force of the counterattack had been stronger than necessary. While assessing the situation, he notices that the boy's nose is crooked. The calm of the moment is broken by a desperate voice in the distance. Someone running towards him, fury in their eyes and a club in hand. The boy's mother arrives in desperation, shouting his name and trying to wake him up. Leon watches in silence, aware that the situation is about to get even more complicated. Assessing the scene, he decides it would be better to leave discreetly before the woman turns her fury on him. While she holds her son and demands explanations, Leon quietly steps away, trying to avoid further trouble. Leon remains calm, even in the face of the woman's furious accusations. She shouts, accusing him of doing something to her son, refusing to accept that he just passed out. Anger fills her voice as she declares that Leon is nothing more than the son of a despised woman, insinuating that he should never have been taken in by that family. To her, his presence there has always been a mistake. Despite the insults and hostility, Leon remains unfazed. The difference in their reactions clearly shows the distance between them. Not allowing herself to be shaken by the accusations, Leon ends the conversation calmly, stating that he has matters to resolve. Without changing his tone or showing any concern, he walks away calmly, leaving the woman confused and speechless. She tries to call him back, but he continues his path without hesitation, indifferent to her shouts. Leon arrives at the church, where he is promptly attended by a nun who guides him to the room where the class tree is located. He asks to check the available job options. The nun places a magic orb on a pedestal, activating the consultation process. Leon watches attentively as the environment around him seems to come alive with magic. Leon watches closely as the orb glows, releasing a tree of diagrams that reveals the available jobs to him. He notices that, just like in his past life, many jobs are accessible from the start. However, he also realizes that, while some classes can be learned, others are innate. The tree is the same as before, reflecting the choices and limitations of the job system in this new world. In front of the job tree, Leon evaluates his options. He considers Sage to be the best choice, but also contemplates other possibilities, such as anti-hero, and new archetypes like fighter or hunter, to expand his combat abilities. Despite the options, he realizes that, deep down, he no longer feels the need to be strong. In his past life, he was chosen as a hero candidate at 10 years old. Since then, every day had been consumed by training with the sole purpose of defeating the Demon King. The search for strength dominated his existence, making his journey extremely difficult. Now, in a world where there is no longer a Demon King, and without being an adventurer, he recognizes the weight of that past, and his absolute dedication to power. This time, he awakens in a peaceful world, far from the conflicts of the past. Now free from the shackles of his former mission, he allows himself to imagine a life where he doesn't need to fight constantly. For the first time, there's a chance to live lightly, without obligations tying him to the burden of strength. He finds the Tamer class in the job diagram. Upon analyzing the abilities, he considers the possibility of communicating with monsters and animals. The idea of understanding what Asura thinks attracts him, and this role begins to seem more valuable than any brute strength. He recognizes Asura's attachment, even though he can't fully understand the creature's feelings. Without eyes or a mouth, communication is difficult, but the bond is clear. Decided to better understand his companion, he chooses the tamer class, believing this will be the best way to get closer to Asura. Leon returns from the church and is approached by a maid from the mansion. She informs him that the master wishes to see him to discuss the incident involving Lord Snail. Showing no reaction, he listens to the message and prepares to face yet another unwanted conversation. The door opens, and a woman appears with a boy by her side. Inside the room, everyone turns their attention to him. A man with a worried expression stands up from the couch, clearly relieved but still tense. He stares seriously at the boy, showing that he was expecting an explanation. The boy remains silent before him. Leon explains that he was at the church. The family watches him with tension, and the atmosphere becomes heavy. Lloyd, the father, asks if he really hurt Snail. The blond boy, visibly irritated, points to his own injured face and confirms, saying it was Leon's fault. Meanwhile, Leon remains silent, staring seriously at the scene. Leon confirms what was said without hesitation, remaining calm. Then a woman strikes him across the face. She becomes agitated, calling him violent and accusing him of acting against his own older brother. The situation spirals out of control when she insinuates that his behavior comes from his mother, while everyone in the room grows even more tense. The woman screams, demanding that Leon be expelled immediately, worried about the family's reputation. She insists that keeping a boy like him would stain their name. The father, however, hesitates and reminds her that Leon is still only 12 years old. Leon watches everything in silence, realizing that his father has no intention of kicking him out of the house. Leon recalls that his mother worked as a servant in this mansion. They say she was so beautiful that his father couldn't resist. He imagines that his father carries some guilt for this, which might explain his hesitation to expel him. Even so, Leon seems to stay grounded in the situation. Leon decides to leave on his own, saying that he doesn't need anyone's sympathy. The woman reacts with sarcasm and joy, provoking him by saying that he finally understood that he's just a burden to everyone there. The father observes in silence, surprised by the boy's decision. The woman mocks Leon's decision and insists that he be sent away immediately, emphasizing that at 12 years old, children of peasants would already be working. She laughs loudly, saying he's just the son of a maid. The father tries to argue, remembering Leon's age, but is ignored. Leon's father suggests sending him to work with a merchant family, but Leon interrupts him and says that won't be necessary. He then declares firmly that he's going to become an adventurer. Everyone in the room reacts with surprise at the boy's sudden decision. Leon thinks about the path he has chosen. Adventurers belong to a guild and undertake exploration or combat missions to make money. It's a common choice among poor people or children from humble neighborhoods who want to change their lives. Unlike nobility in this path, what matters are achievements and strength, not social status. Leon thinks about the difficulties of an adventurer's life. They don't have a fixed salary, have to pay for their own equipment, and constantly face danger. Even so, he remembers his past life, when he fought alongside adventurers against the Demon King's army, even though, at that time, he worked alone. Meanwhile, his father questions how he plans to fight, since he apparently has no skills. Leon tries to calm his father down and says he recently got a combat job at the church. His father and others react with surprise and distrust. Snail, irritated, accuses Leon of lying, saying that someone his age would never be able to get such a job. Snail keeps complaining, saying that even he with a high level hasn't been able to get a job yet. Leon realizes that his brother only has common skills. Decided, he informs them that he's leaving home and that he can manage on his own, asking them not to worry about him anymore. Leon arrives in a simple new room and is soon greeted by a gelatinous creature that jumps up excitedly. He crouches down, curious and surprised, and seems to be able to understand what the creature is feeling. Gradually, he begins to get used to the new environment. Leon interacts with the gelatinous creature, testing different types of affection and noticing that it reacts the same way to all of them. He thinks that he wouldn't have noticed this difference before. Meanwhile, his father appears in the doorway and calls to him, with a serious but restrained expression. Leon's father appears in the doorway and, with a calmer look, hands him a bag full of coins. Leon asks if he's sure about this, surprised by the gesture. Despite everything, his father wanted to at least ensure that his son had something to start his journey. Leon's father hands over the money with regret, saying that he would like to be a good father but apologizes for only being able to do this. Leon accepts the help without resistance. thinking that it will make his journey easier. As his father walks away, the boy calmly watches the bag of coins. Leon begins to store his things in a magical bag called Item Box, which stores objects in another dimension. He observes that, although it is not infinite, the bag's capacity is 2 to 3 times greater than the room he's in. While organizing his things, Leon remembers that, in his previous life, he had a much more powerful magical bag, capable of storing valuable items and with enough space to store nearly an entire village. Despite the difference, he is grateful for the chance to be reborn and start over, now with everything clean and ready to move forward. The next morning, Leon informs the gelatinous creature that he is leaving home. The small creature reacts with surprise and fear, but soon becomes excited when it realizes it will be coming along. Leon smiles and confirms that it will accompany him on his new journey. Leon says goodbye to his father, thanking him for everything, and prepares to move forward. He leaves excited with his gelatinous companion, feeling finally free from that life. With a smile on his face, he breathes in the fresh air and faces the future with lightness and determination. As he walks calmly with his gelatinous partner, Leon realizes he is being followed by several people. They try to act like ordinary passers-by, but he notices that they are clearly watching his every step. Soon a figure approaches, smiling suspiciously, and calls out to him, interrupting his journey. Snail appears, leading a group of people, with an arrogant smile on his face. He says he gathered everyone there specifically to celebrate his younger brother's departure. Provocatively, he tells Leon to be grateful for his dedication, making it clear that his intentions are not friendly. Snail reveals his true intentions, saying that he is out of money, implying that he wants to take what Leon received from their father. Leon immediately understands the reason for the approach and responds calmly, saying that it's a shame. He then asks Snail to get out of the way, showing that he has no intention of yielding. Snail begins to laugh, thinking that Leon still doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. He demands that Leon hand over the money, threatening to resort to violence. Leon remains calm and looks at them firmly, questioning what would happen if he simply refuses. This infuriates Snail even more, and he orders his lackeys to attack. One of the guys rushes at Leon, but is thrown back with a reflected strike. A magic circle appears, activating an ability called Double Reflex, which rebounds the attack with force. Snail panics upon seeing his ally being knocked down effortlessly and orders the others to attack for real. Leon remains standing, calm, while the enemies advance. Leon activates the Double Reflex ability again, and the enemies' attacks are sent back with full force. Several are thrown away and fall to the ground, defeated. He mentally explains that, although activation is not guaranteed, his abilities as a sword master greatly increase the chances of success. Without even moving, Leon neutralizes all of them easily. Snail's lackeys are shocked to see Leon defeat several of them without even moving. Desperate, Snail screams for them to attack from a distance, and one of them obeys, throwing a stone. Leon watches in silence as the attack approaches, showing no concern. Leon activates Double Reflex once again, and the stone thrown at him comes back with full force, hitting the aggressor in the face and knocking him to the ground. With a calm expression, Leon explains that this ability works even from a distance, leaving everyone around even more surprised. Snail's lackeys panic, realizing that Leon is much stronger than they thought. Losing patience, Snail explodes with anger, calls them all useless, and decides to act on his own. With an arrogant smile, he draws a knife, ready to attack personally. Snail provokes Leon, telling him to show if he really has any combat skills. Unmoved, Leon simply picks up a stick from the ground calmly and says that this will be enough. Even in the face of the threat, he remains calm and confident. Snail shouts furiously and confusedly, asking what Leon is doing. Leon, with a calm look, responds that he was just thinking how that simple stick was enough to defeat him. The provocation makes Snail even angrier, his face trembling with rage. Snail charges forward with everything, screaming with anger, but Leon is already expecting this. As he watches the reckless attack, Leon wonders if he really never learns. With a quick and precise movement, he prepares to counterattack, knowing that facing someone without thinking is always dangerous. Snail tries to attack with his knife, but Leon easily dodges and breaks the weapon with a sharp movement using the stick. Surprised and scared, Snail barely understands what happened before being thrown away. Lying on the ground, he hears Leon mocking him, telling him to be more careful next time. Leon declares with a smile that the fight is over. Snail, on the ground and in shock, screams that it's impossible, asking what technique that was. Leon, confused, responds that he simply made a cut with the stick. Snail refuses to accept this, saying that there's no way that Twig could have broken his sword, but Leon remains calm, as if everything was obvious. Leon demonstrates naturally how he used the stick, repeating the movement on the ground. The moment he touches the floor, the impact is so strong that the entire ground around him cracks, creating huge fissures. Snail falls into despair, screaming in disbelief at what he just saw. Leon makes one more movement with the stick, this time towards the sky. Then, a huge explosion of energy hits the horizon with a crash, lighting up everything around. The others watch in complete shock, their faces filled with pure terror and astonishment at the power Leon just displayed. Leon reveals that the stick he used wasn't ordinary. He explains that it's a branch from the legendary World Tree, known to have strength that rivals orichalcum. With a smile on his face, he says it's an extremely powerful weapon, far superior even to a hero's sword. Everyone around is even more surprised by the revelation. Leon throws the stick into the air and says that he can give it to them, mentioning that it would be worth at least 100 gold coins. The boys get fixated on the idea and in an instant begin to fight among themselves, shouting that the stick is theirs. Leon watches the scene with boredom and even sticks his tongue out, clearly enjoying the chaos. Snail manages to grab the stick and starts laughing, boasting about having the legendary stick in his hands. He raises it with strength, proudly showing it to the others. Leon watches from a distance and thinks that if he keeps waving it around like that, and before he can finish the thought, the stick snaps with a sharp crack, leaving everyone in shock. Snail looks confused as the stick breaks in his hand, not understanding what happened. The others also begin to doubt if it was really a legendary weapon. When they realize, Leon is already gone from the location. Amid the confusion, he is already on his way, and thus begins his new journey. Leon sets off on the road with his gelatinous companion, looking ahead with determination. He decides to head for a city with an adventurer's guild. With the past left behind, he begins the lighthearted and carefree journey of a reincarnated adventurer, ready for whatever comes ahead. During the journey in a cart, one of the passengers notices Leon's interest and asks if he plans to become an adventurer. Leon responds that yes, while holding his gelatinous partner in his lap. Curious, the others say they would like to hear his stories, already interested in the mysterious boy they've just met. The two adventurers introduce themselves. The boy's name is Ryan, a fighter with rank D. The girl's name is Naya, also rank D and works as a mage. When Leon shows that he doesn't know what rank means, Nia explains that adventurers are ranked from F to S, according to their skills and mission history. Nia continues explaining that ranks F and E are for beginners, D for adventurers with some experience, and C for those who have already established themselves in the profession. Leon, curious, asks about ranks SS and SSS, wondering if they still exist. He mentally comments that maybe the system has changed in the past 100 years. Nonetheless, Naya says that, due to his age, it might be a bit hard for him to start as an adventurer. As they continue their journey, the group spots a fight in the distance. Two adventurers are surrounded by bandits. Naya gets scared, but Leon quickly identifies that they are in trouble. Ryan notices there are many enemies and asks if they'll be able to handle it. Nia says that everything depends on the skills of the two in danger. At the same time, one of the bandits notices the cart approaching and shows a sinister smile, already with bad intentions. The bandit group introduces themselves as Madhouse, the most feared gang in that region. Ryan and Naya are visibly frightened when they hear that name. Ryan explains that the Adventurers Guild has tried to defeat them before, even sending high-level adventurers, but they ended up suffering heavy losses. Leon, curious, asks if they are famous, and Ryan confirms, saying that the group is known for their strength in battle. The bandits demand all the money and say they will take the women, laughing threateningly. Nia and Ryan become tense, unsure of what to do. Leon watches everything calmly and begins to prepare, thinking that he doesn't need to go easy on them this time. Leon activates a powerful magic. A large magic circle appears behind him, and a sandstorm begins to form. The bandits are caught off guard and start screaming as they are thrown away by the force of the magic. The dust covers the field, and even the other adventurers have to protect themselves. The adventurers look at Leon in surprise and ask what that spell was. He responds as if it's simple, calling the magic a sandstorm. They comment that it's a fusion of earth and wind, and Leon, confused, says that he only wanted to capture the bandits, since they seem to have committed other crimes. The others are indignant, saying that wasn't the problem, while Leon still thinks maybe he should have used something stronger. Leon looks at the defeated bandits and thinks about what to do with them. Since they don't fit in the cart, he considers having to carry them. The adventurers around him are still in shock, trying to understand how he casts such a strong spell without even using an incantation. Leon simply announces that he is leaving and tosses the unconscious bandits into a corner with ease. While everyone is still in shock, a girl with spiky hair rushes towards him, and the adventurers watch everything without understanding what's going on. Leon calmly reaches the city gates and hands a group of tied-up bandits to the guard, saying that he captured them on the road. The guard is completely surprised, unable to understand how a boy managed to do something like that alone. Leon walks through the city, observing that the place remains almost the same. While the guard tries to understand what happened with the delivered bandits, Leon is already far away. Soon after, Leon reaches the Adventurers Guild and decides that it's time to officially register. Leon enters the guild and soon notices a statue that catches his attention. Upon closer inspection, he immediately recognizes it. It's him. The receptionist explains that the statue is of a legendary hero who saved the world about 100 years ago by defeating the Demon King. The hero's name, Leon Liberto. Leon asks why the statue of that hero is in the guild. The receptionist responds that there are statues of him all over the world since he is considered a hero of humanity. She also comments that all guilds have one, and that he was not only strong, but also very handsome, clearly showing how much he is idolized. Leon arrives at the guild and says he wants to register as an adventurer. The receptionist introduces herself as Shilwe and asks his age. Surprised to learn that he is 12 years old, she comments that at his age, he shouldn't be able to choose a profession. But he replies saying that he already chose the beast tamer role and presents the creature accompanying him, named Sura. The guild receptionist analyzes Leon's situation and comments that she wouldn't recommend the beast tamer profession for someone who wants to be an adventurer. She observes that his creature is just a slime and explains that this type of ability is ineffective against stronger beasts. She also mentions that tamers generally don't do well in combat unless they reach a high class, like Arch-Tamer, which would still take many years for him. The receptionist explains that standing out as a tamer from the beginning is very difficult, but that he needs to register to take the test. She leads the boy to the counter, gives him the form, and instructs him to fill in the information. She tells him not to lie, especially if he has any criminal history, though she believes that at his age, that shouldn't be a problem. The guild staff informs him that the exam will be early the next morning. When he asks how the test will be, she explains that it depends on the type of job, but in the case of Beast Tamer, it will probably involve a simulated battle. He will have to face the examiner to demonstrate his skills. The candidates gather for the exam, and the atmosphere is tense. The examiner, Zaraga, appears and warns that he will be strict. He says he can't let a weak person pass and die later, so he will judge everyone harshly. He then immediately selects the first candidate to start the test. Zaraga begins testing the candidates and rejects all of them mercilessly. Some are easily knocked down, others can barely react. He criticizes them, saying that, at this rate, they would be eaten by beasts. The onlookers are surprised by his strength, recognizing that no one there is on the same level. Leon watches everything, already imagining how demanding his test will be. Zaraga calls Leon, surprised to see that he's just a child, and on top of that, a monster tamer. He mocks him, saying that even a stray dog would defeat the slime. Leon asks if Sura wants to fight, and the slime responds with determination, ready to face the challenge. Leon observes the situation and thinks that the examiner won't kill the slime. Meanwhile, the other candidates find it funny that he's using a slime as a partner, saying that it seems like he's not even taking the test seriously. Zaraga sighs, irritated, and wonders why he has to fight against a slime. Even so, he accepts that it's part of the job. Meanwhile, Sura, the slime, growls seriously, preparing for the fight. Sura charges at the examiner with full force, surprising him with the strength of the attack. The slime rebounds with impact, forcing the man to retreat and defend himself. He tries to counterattack, but Sura bounces from side to side, dodging with agility. Irritated, the examiner starts shouting, not understanding how a slime is able to face him like this. The examiner tries to hit Sura but can't keep up with the slime's fast movements. Sura strikes directly in his chest with force, making the man retreat again. The audience starts to realize that the slime is dominating the fight, leaving everyone confused. Leon watches, not understanding how this is possible. Leon decides to check Sura's status and is surprised by the results. Strength B, Endurance A, Dexterity B, Magic B, Luck B. While observing, he wonders if all slimes are like this, or if Sura belongs to a higher class. On the other side, the examiner continues trying to hit Sura unsuccessfully. Zaraga falls to the ground and admits defeat. Leon remembers that companion creatures get stronger with the master's mana. Sura celebrates the victory. The audience begins to wonder how a slime managed to defeat a C-ranked fighter. Zaraga, incredulous, acknowledges the damage he's taken and doesn't understand how he was defeated by a simple slime. Leon asks how he did on the exam, and Zaraga, still on the ground, confirms that he passed. Even surprised by the slime's strength, he admits that he couldn't fail someone who defeated the examiner. Leon finds it strange that a veteran is so weak. Zaraga advises him to join a group as soon as possible, as he still relies on just one creature. The receptionist is surprised to hear that Leon passed the exam and even received an A, as Zaraga is known to be quite strict. She is even more shocked when she reads the comments saying that Leon defeated the examiner. He comments that Sura worked really hard. Then, he says that there's something he would like to ask. Leon asks if rank SSS still exists. The receptionist responds that not exactly, explaining that the requirements are so absurd that no adventurer is currently capable of fulfilling them. To reach this level, one would need to defeat a behemoth alone. Leon finds this surprising, but not that difficult, and then asks about rank SS. The receptionist says that ranks SS and SSS no longer exist. Currently, the highest rank is S, but even so, to reach it, one must be strong enough to defeat a disaster-level king alone. She explains that there are very few S-rank adventurers in the world, and the requirement is to defeat a disaster-level red dragon. Leon asks why there are so few, and she replies that, in the time when the Demon King was still alive, there were many adventurers of rank SS and SSS, but there were also beasts much more powerful than those now. The narrator explains that the Demon King's mana made the beast stronger and more aggressive, but it has been 100 years since he was defeated. With the world in peace, the beast became weaker, which also weakened humanity. Because of this, gaining experience points has become harder. Leon accepts the situation with a calm thought, and then receives his guild card with rank E. The receptionist also hands him a companion beast tag, explaining that with it, he can walk through the city with the slime without problems. She also warns him not to lose the guild card, as he'll have to pay for a new one if he does. The receptionist becomes curious about how to attach the tag to a slime, and suggests that maybe it can be placed inside its body. Leon asks if the slime can do that, but she responds that it prefers to stay on top of his head. He accepts it and tries to place it there. The receptionist watches the scene and can't help but find everything very cute. Soon after, Leon appears in front of the guild's bulletin board, observing the available missions while other people stare at him curiously. While Leon is still watching the missions on the guild board, a girl approaches and catches his attention. Shortly after, two adventurers appear, smiling, and invite him to join a mission with them. Leon watches, curious, without giving an immediate answer. Leon recognizes who the two girls are. They were among the adventurers attacked by the bandits earlier. The one with long hair introduces herself as Sarah, and the other, her childhood friend, introduces herself as Yuri. The girls explain that they also passed the test and think it would be a good idea to form a group together. Leon considers that, although his slime is strong, it would be risky to continue alone. After thinking it over, he agrees to join them. While looking at the mission board, Yuri comments that she was worried about forming a group only with Sarah, as they are the only women at the location. She explains that, because they are rare, adventurers tend to be very sought after by other groups, but many of these approaches have ulterior motives. For this reason, they've always been cautious. Shortly after, Yuri shows a mission and asks what Leon thinks of it. Yuri suggests a rank F mission to exterminate kobolds coming out of the forest, thinking it would be a good start. Leon and Sarah agree with the choice, and the group decides to proceed with this mission as their first adventure together. The group reaches near the forest. looking for the kobolds, but doesn't find any in sight. Leon remembers that the receptionist had warned them that, with their current rank, they couldn't accept missions involving the forest. She had made it clear that it was dangerous and that they should avoid the area. While they discuss whether it's worth continuing without entering the forest, Leon whistles calmly. Soon after, Yuri notices something approaching. The loud sound of footsteps fills the place, and suddenly a horde of kobolds appears, charging toward them, surprising the entire group. The girls panic when they realize there are more than a dozen kobolds coming toward them. Leon, however, observes the situation calmly, saying that with this many, each could get a gold coin. Yuri, frightened, warns that it's not the time to think about rewards and that the group needs to get out of there as soon as possible. The kobolds approach quickly, frightening Sarah, who realizes they won't be able to escape in time. Yuri prepares for combat while Leon observes the two and thinks that maybe they're nervous because it's their first mission. Without hesitation, he charges forward with Asura by his side, ready to join the fight. Yuri rushes forward with her sword in hand, while the slime follows her, jumping by her side. Sarah teams up with her to keep the enemies at bay, leaving Leon under the protection of his friend. Leon watches in silence while the battle approaches as the kobolds advance fiercely. Yuri charges forward and cuts one of the kobolds with precision, while the slime hits another with strength. Sarah casts a spell that explodes in flames, pushing back more enemies. Even with the group's attacks, the kobolds continue advancing, surrounding them and forcing each to handle the situation their own way. Sarah tries to react quickly to the danger and offers to deal with the situation, while Yuri is surprised by an attack. In the midst of the confusion, Leon calmly walks to the front, surprising everyone with his calmness. Sarah watches in shock as he approaches the enemy with confidence. While Sarah and Yuri scream in worry, Leon remains calm in front of the kobold. He realizes he's unarmed and thinks he should have brought a sword, but quickly decides that empty hands are enough. Without hesitation, he grabs the creature with strength, leaving everyone surprised by the confidence and power he shows. Leon pulls the kobold with force and throws it to the ground with a brutal strike, destroying the ground around it on impact. The scene shocks everyone with the absurd strength he demonstrates, especially considering he's unarmed and facing the creature with his bare hands. The girls are in shock at Leon's strength. Even surrounded by kobolds, he remains calm and says he's still weaker compared to his past life. Right after, one of the monsters bites his arm, but he doesn't even seem to flinch. Leon is surrounded by the kobolds, but remains calm, saying they were just playing at biting. The girls are confused by the situation. Without showing fear, he prepares, saying it's his turn to act. Leon charges toward the kobolds with a quick and precise movement, knocking several down at once. The girls watch from a distance, surprised by his strength and confidence. The two girls freeze watching the scene, unable to believe what they are seeing. One even pinches herself to make sure she's not dreaming. Meanwhile, Leon whistles to the kobolds, and they approach him as if they were pets. Leon appears carrying a pile of defeated kobolds, saying they got quite a lot. The girls are still in shock, while he asks if they also want to fight. Then, with a smile, he says he'll divide the reward as they agreed, even though he did everything alone. Leon notices something moving among the trees, and soon identifies it as a kobold left behind by the previous group. But unlike the others, this one appears in giant size and with a threatening presence, roaring loudly in front of the group. The two girls look up, scared, upon seeing a large creature approaching. The scene shifts to an imposing figure, a massive beast with a wolf-like appearance, glaring angrily. A young man watches in surprise as he realizes that the creature can speak, while thinking about the intelligence of these beasts. The beast reveals itself as the Forest Lord, and questions who is responsible for killing its companions. As the Forest Lord stares at the adventurers, it is explained that he is a king kobold, the highest rank among his species. Creatures like these are powerful enough to destroy entire villages on their own, and only high-level adventurers of rank A or B could face them. The two girls fall to their knees, desperate, thinking they will die on their first mission. The two girls, crying, begin to say their goodbyes and mentally apologize to their parents, regretting being so reckless. One of them laments that she only wanted to become a great adventurer. Meanwhile, the blonde boy watches the monster and comments innocently, thinking it's just a bigger-than-normal kobold. The two girls, outraged, scream that this is clearly a king kobold. The king kobold prepares to attack, saying it will avenge its companions. He raises his fist with strength, breaking the ground around him. The two girls, panicking, try to defend themselves, saying they weren't responsible. Still, the monster charges forward furiously, ready to crush them with a fatal blow. Just as the King Kobold's punch is about to hit the girls, the blonde boy appears and stops the attack with his hand, completely blocking the giant blow. He turns calmly to the two girls, asking if they're okay, while they stare at him in shock, unable to believe what they just saw. The blonde boy, with a calm expression, says that they don't need to be so afraid. The girls, desperate, try to explain that they're facing a King Kobold, an absurdly strong enemy. Meanwhile, the creature begins to retreat, visibly shaken and shocked by the boy's strength. Not understanding how anyone can stay calm in this situation, the monster shows nervousness for the first time. The blonde boy delivers a powerful strike with the palm of his hand, throwing the King Kobold away and creating a crater in the ground. The two girls watch the scene, nervously laughing and wondering if this is really real. The monster, injured and trembling, drags itself away without understanding where the boy got so much strength from, until it falls, unconscious. The boy simply turns away, complaining about a slight discomfort in his hand. The boy calmly comments that he defeated several enemies. The two girls, still trying to understand everything, recognize that he's right, but realize they won't be able to carry so many bodies on their own. He, smiling, says that there's nothing to worry about and points to something behind them. Several kobolds appear, staggering, still alive, leaving the girls surprised once again. The girls are startled to see the kobolds standing again, realizing they're still alive. Not understanding anything, one of them holds the other, saying she doesn't even want to know what's going on. The boy, completely calm, starts taking off his cloak, while the kobolds approach slowly, showing no hostility. While the girls continue not understanding what's going on, the boy touches the kobolds and makes them disappear in smoke. He assures them that he will divide the mission reward between the three of them and promises not to keep anything extra. The girls scream in shock at his behavior, finding all this calmness surreal. The scene cuts to the return to the guild building, where an employee greets the group with a smile, asking how their first mission went. Back at the guild, the employee notices something seems wrong and asks if there was any problem. The blonde boy answers casually, thinking everything went well. Behind him, the two girls appear exhausted and with dull eyes, leaving the employee even more confused. One of them admits that she doesn't even know how to explain what happened. The boy then comments that they defeated several kobolds, and when the employee asks to see, he starts pulling something out of the bag. The boy starts pulling the bodies of the kobolds from the magic bag, throwing one after another on the guild floor. The employee panics, asking him to stop and wondering where all these bodies are coming from. Shocked by the amount and the impact, she looks visibly shaken and tells him to take care of the situation. The boy continues pulling kobold bodies from his bag, creating an absurd pile at the guild counter. The employee panics, begging him to stop immediately. When asked about the quantity, he responds calmly that he didn't count them, but thinks there are about 50. Everyone around is shocked by the number. The employee, furious, states that it's obvious they went into the forest, even though they were warned not to. She points out that even an elder kobold is among the bodies. The boy, with an innocent expression, insists that they didn't go into the forest and that he is telling the truth. She refuses to believe him, as kobolds rarely leave the forest on their own. The two girls in the background only watch, completely exhausted by the situation. Tired of the confusion, the employee decides to leave the explanations for later and takes the group to the back of the guild. As they walk, she asks where the boy got so many kobolds. He answers naturally that they came from his item box, thinking it's a common thing. The employee is surprised, asking if he really owns such a valuable item, while he seems not to understand the reason for her shock. The boy completely empties the item box, revealing an absurd number of kobolds stacked up to the ceiling. The employee freezes, unable to believe what she sees. She asks how he managed to defeat so many, also commenting that it's strange that all of this fits in an item box. He answers simply, saying that he couldn't get a larger one due to the low quality of the bag he used. The employee reflects on the item box, explaining that these are extremely rare magical items made by a few wizards and almost never appear on the market. The simplest ones cost the same as a cart, while the more expensive ones are even more absurd. Confused by the boy's natural way of talking about it, she tries to convince herself that she must have misunderstood what he said. The employee comes across the body of the king kobold among the defeated ones and is shocked to realize that it really is one. She wonders if the boy was really able to defeat such a powerful creature, normally only faced by veteran adventurers. The girls in the background tremble nervously and nod their heads in confirmation. Meanwhile, she reflects on the slime accompanying the boy, realizing that it's more impressive than it seems. The employee is in shock as she understands that Leon defeated nearly all of those beasts by himself. The girls in the background confirm with dread, reliving the trauma. In front of the absurd number of bodies, she says she will need time to assess everything and asks him to come back the next day. Leon, with a carefree smile, comments that maybe he overdid it a bit and asks how much she thinks all of that is worth. The next day, the employee hands over a large sack of gold as payment for the materials delivered. She informs him that 56 kobolds were defeated, including a king kobold and 4 elders, and that since all the bodies were in great condition, the value was high. Leon is surprised by the weight of the reward, asking if it's correct. The employee explains that even high-level adventurers wouldn't be able to defeat so many enemies so cleanly. After completing the mission, Leon is promoted to rank D for his impressive performance, breaking the guild's record for the fastest promotion. Sarah and Yuri are also promoted, but only to rank E. However, both feel guilty for not doing anything and say they don't deserve it. Still, they receive congratulations while trying to refuse the recognition. Leon hands over the bags with each of their share of the reward, reminding them that they had agreed to divide it equally from the start. Reluctantly, the girls accept when they see that he insists. In the end, they decide to deposit the money in the guild for safekeeping, with a slight smile on their faces. With the money in hand, Leon decides it's time to buy equipment. Even though he knows he could fight without anything, he prefers to prepare better in case he faces a stronger enemy in the future. Deep in thought, he heads down the city stairs with his slime by his side, determined to get equipped. Leon walks through the busy streets of the city with his slime, observing the local commerce. He notices how the place is more prosperous than it was 100 years ago, with many more people circulating and a wider variety of products for sale. Curious and attentive, he observes the shops around. Ready to find the ideal equipment? Leon tries on a new pair of gloves, finding the material durable and elastic. Satisfied with the choice, he decides that's enough for now. He pays for the equipment and thanks the vendor while the slime follows him, observing everything with curiosity. After buying the clothes, Leon applies several enchantments to them: impact resistance, magic resistance, heat and cold resistance, as well as self-cleaning and self-repair functions. With everything ready, he decides to head to a weapon shop next. The owner of the previous shop watches in surprise as the boy's clothes glow with magical effects. Leon visits a weapon shop but soon realizes that all the swords are common and of low quality. He concludes that it would be better to fight with his bare hands than use something like that. Still, he tries to negotiate with the blacksmith, saying he would pay whatever it takes for a decent weapon. The slime encourages him, saying that a real blacksmith should make the type of sword the customer needs. Inside the forge, a determined female blacksmith says that she only makes swords that she truly wants to forge. An aggressive customer, angry that she refuses his order, begins shouting and tries to force her to accept, resorting to violence. She, without hesitation, faces him firmly as he advances with his fist raised, threatening to attack her. When the man tries to attack her, the blacksmith reacts quickly and precisely, knocking him down with a single blow. She calmly picks up her sword and stares coldly, making it clear that she has no patience for ill-intentioned complaints. The aggressor retreats, frightened, realizing he messed with the wrong person. The man runs away in panic, apologizing as he sprints out of the shop. The blacksmith watches her reaction with disdain and turns her attention back to Leon, who is analyzing a sword forged by her. He notices that the blade is much sharper than the other weapons in the shop, clearly made with superior skill. Leon observes the blacksmith with the sword and, based on what he's heard, realizes that she forged it herself. Impressed by the weapon, he approaches and politely calls her, ready to start a conversation. The slime quietly accompanies him as the blacksmith stares at him, curious about what he will say. Leon looks directly at the blacksmith and asks her to make a sword for him. The woman, surprised by the direct request, responds with an "huh," not immediately understanding who the boy is or why he is so confident. The slime watches everything from Leon's head, as always. The blacksmith stares at Leon with a serious and surprised expression, finding it strange that such a direct request is coming from someone so young. Irritated, she says that she's in a bad mood and tells him to leave, turning her back without giving him a chance to explain. Leon just watches in silence, while the slime continues on his head, observing everything quietly. Even being told to leave, Leon enters the workshop and observes everything calmly. The blacksmith yells, saying she won't make a sword for a kid like him, but Leon, unbothered, responds that he was listening. Before leaving, he asks, what kind of person would she accept to forge a sword for? This takes her by surprise, changing the tone of the conversation. Zeta realizes that Leon is no ordinary boy, as he reacted with calmness to her murderous intent. Intrigued, she introduces herself as a blacksmith. Leon then says his name and reveals that he is a rank D adventurer, which surprises Zeta even more, as he is too young to have already reached that level. She comments that now everything starts to make more sense. Zeta finally answers Leon's question, saying that she only makes swords for those who have enough skill to wield them. That's her only rule. Leon understands and accepts this with naturalness, but then follows up with another question: if she has ever forged a sword with materials superior to mithril. The question takes Zeta by surprise. Upon hearing Leon mention adamantite, Zeta is shocked, saying that it's a legendary material used only in extraordinary weapons, and even royal blacksmiths don't have access to it. Leon calmly responds that, in his past life, that material wasn't so rare, and he even had several weapons made of adamantite. He comments that, if necessary, he'll mine the material himself. Zeta tries to explain that adamantite is rare precisely because it's not easy to find. Leon responds simply, saying that it shouldn't be too difficult if it's in the deeper levels of the dungeons. Irritated, she asks if he's foolish, reminding him that only elite adventurers can reach such depths. But Leon remains with his usual calm, making Zeta sigh, realizing she won't convince him otherwise. Zeta changes her mind with a confident smile, saying that it's about time to collect more materials. She decides to accompany Leon on his next mission, saying that she wants to see with her own eyes if he's truly worthy of wielding one of her swords. Leon watches in silence, while the slime remains by his side. The group heads toward the Hadaka dungeon of the north, a place full of dangerous underground levels. As they descend, the monsters get stronger and the traps more deadly. To this day, the deepest point reached was the 20th floor. This is the known limit, and few have managed to get that far. Even on the 20th floor, the chances of finding adamantite are still very low. Leon explains that to ensure they find the material, they will need to descend at least to the 30th floor. Zeta is surprised by the bold goal, while Leon calmly says that this is the goal for now. Zeta sighs, saying that reaching the 30th floor is impossible, but Leon responds that just reaching the 10th floor would be enough, as there's a good chance of finding mithril. He observes that Zeta, in addition to being a blacksmith, is also skilled with swords. Since she was a child, she trained to be capable of wielding one, believing that this was necessary to create superior swords. Because of this, she ended up acquiring the rare profession of battlesmith. Zeta has already managed to reach the 12th floor of a dungeon alone, something even experienced adventurers prefer to face in a group. For this reason, among the adventurers in the city, she is considered to have a very high level. Her way of speaking, acting, and even her appearance, which has a more masculine style, make her even have female fans. Zeta begins to panic as the creatures appear. First a black minotaur with enough strength to destroy a city, then a chief troll even more dangerous, and finally a giant two-headed worm. She screams in fright, while the boy beside her simply observes everything calmly, not understanding why she's so scared. Zeta begins trembling with nervousness, not understanding why they ended up on the 30th floor. Meanwhile, the boy faces the monsters with ease, cutting and knocking them all down. He looks at her with naturalness and says that he thought he already told her that the goal was to reach the 30th floor for now. He answers calmly that the deeper they go, the higher the chances of finding adamantite. Zeta panics when she realizes the plan is to keep going deeper. She's shocked, thinking that she just wants to go back home, while he's already walking as if it's normal. Zeta comments that if he's already this strong, he doesn't even need a sword made by her. She even says that the common sword he bought would be enough to defeat a dragon, but he shows her the blade, which is all damaged, explaining that common swords wear out very quickly. She's surprised to see a steel sword in that condition. The boy's sword ends up breaking, and Zeta is surprised, asking what he will do without a backup. He responds calmly that he doesn't need another one. Then, he defeats the enemy with a simple punch, leaving Zeta completely shocked, saying that he didn't even need a sword. The group continues advancing through the dungeon, and the boy comments that they've walked quite a bit. Zeta appears completely exhausted, breathing heavily. He asks if she's okay, and she responds that she is, even though she's clearly tired. He comments that it must be near lunchtime. The boy suggests having a light meal right there, in the middle of the dungeon floor. Zeta is surprised by the idea, but is soon astonished when she sees him pulling out a complete meal from a bag. Not understanding anything, she asks where he got all of that, thinking he was using an item box. The boy starts by lighting a campfire with some branches he gathered himself. He then puts water to boil in 2 pots at the same time, one to cook the pasta, the other to cook the meat and vegetables he cut. The boy tastes the food and seems satisfied with the result. The woman is surprised, asking if he's also a master chef. He calmly offers her some once everything is ready, leaving her speechless. The woman tries to hide her interest in the food, saying that she wouldn't accept it in a place like that. He just responds with an, "Oh, really?" while continuing to eat calmly. The dish looks very appetizing, and he comments that it's delicious, leaving the woman watching in silence. The woman stands still, visibly embarrassed and hungry. He looks at her curiously and asks what happened. After a moment of silence, she shyly responds, asking for a little of the food. She takes a bite and immediately is surprised by the taste. With wide eyes, she praises the food, saying that it's incredible. While continuing to eat happily, she comments that she never imagined tasting something so delicious inside a dungeon. The group reaches the 33rd floor and comes across a scene full of frightening monsters. The girl suggests making a detour, worried about the situation, but Leon calmly responds that it's the shortest path. Even with a bad feeling, he insists on moving forward, while she realizes that he had planned to go through everything from the start. Leon and the girl come across a massive group of monsters. He comments that fighting with empty hands against so many might be too much, while she freaks out, saying that he's crazy to think of facing all of this. Even holding him back, Leon seems calm, and even makes a comment saying that she's sweating, leaving her furious with his lack of tact. The monsters notice their presence and begin advancing. The girl panics and asks if Leon can handle the situation. He answers calmly, saying that he can use magic since it's a large group. She is shocked to find out that he also knows magic. Leon activates a powerful magic called Hellfire, creating a huge whirlwind of flames around him. The girl watches in surprise, unable to believe what she's seeing, while everything around is swallowed by the fire. After casting the powerful fire magic, Leon uses another spell called Flood Myth to extinguish the flames. A massive flow of water emerges, covering everything around. He and the girl watch the now flooded area, while the water still flows down the cave walls. Leon looks at the girl calmly, asking why she's standing still. With a slight smile, he suggests that they keep walking. The girl remains speechless, still impacted. In the distance, a strange noise begins echoing through the tunnel. At the deepest floor of the dungeon, a massive dragon starts moving. Its body, covered in heavy scales, stirs slowly as its eyes open. It awakens with a threatening aura, murmuring in a low and dark voice, asking who dared interrupt its sleep. The dragon continues awakening and senses something strange in the air. It recognizes an irritating mana that bothers it deeply. In its mind, the doubt arises. Could that man have returned? Meanwhile, a mysterious figure appears standing in the battlefield, surrounded by an intense aura, making the ground tremble. The dragon glares with anger and resentment, remembering the past. It says that it will never forget the humiliation it suffered while watching the blonde-haired boy in front of it, who smiles calmly, still unaware of what it's about to face. The group reaches the 40th floor of the dungeon. The boy leans against the wall and realizes there's something strange there. Without thinking too much, he punches the suspicious spot with force, surprising the girl beside him with his sudden action. The boy easily finds adamantite, surprising the girl. He says they should keep mining since they're there, leaving her speechless. She thought they could finally go back, but he seems more excited to explore the rest of the floor. The boy appears holding a large amount of adamantite, saying it would be enough to forge 100 swords. The girl responds, exhausted, saying that she thinks so. When he says it's time to leave, she's so worn out that she can barely react, and asks for some time to breathe. Leon is sitting, looking at his information, and comments that he leveled up a lot. He shows that his skills are all at rank SS and several of his classes reached level 20. The slime Sura also made a huge advancement, reaching level 64 with very high attributes. Leon comments that even Sura got super strong. Leon says that if Sura keeps working hard, one day it may get strong enough to defeat even a demon king. The slime strikes a pose showing muscles, and Leon is impressed that Sura can already do that. Meanwhile, he explains that they're in the safe zone of the 40th floor of the dungeon, a place where almost no monster enters. While resting, Leon comments that Sura seems calm in the place. He also says that monsters probably avoid that area unless they were born in the dungeon itself. Soon after, he asks if Zeta has rested enough, and she stands up confirming with a yes. Zeta begins running in panic after hearing a loud roar coming from the depths of the dungeon. Leon watches the situation calmly and realizes what's happening. He concludes that all the monsters in the dungeon are moving toward them. Zeta panics when she learns that about 500 monsters are coming their way. Leon watches calmly and comments that even though they're in a safe zone, there might be abnormal monsters that don't care about that. She tries to confirm that they're protected there, but he just responds with a maybe, leaving her even more desperate. Zeta sees the horde of monsters approaching and completely freaks out, laughing exaggeratedly and saying that 500 enemies are nothing. She screams that she could defeat 10,000 alone, while Leon watches the scene and thinks that she clearly lost control. Leon instructs Sura to protect Zeta, who is sleeping peacefully, unaware of the situation around her. Meanwhile, he prepares a spell to reduce the number of monsters, using his magic to deal with the imminent threat.